I'm JP Melville, Executive Director of Abbeyfield, Canada, which means that I hail from maybe one of the most far-flung places for anybody here. It's called Ottawa, our nation's capital, where we're the center of an election, and it doesn't really mean much to anybody who actually lives there. Life goes on as normal. I am standing here at the podium, but I have a team here, and in fact, they are the foundation to Abbeyfield, much the same as everybody in this room is the foundation to any Abbeyfield house that may grow, bud, blossom here in Owen Sound or Grey Bruce. Bill, Rhonda, Pat, and I think there's a volunteer
Kathy
here
and
too.
Arlene.
Please stand up, everybody, so everybody can just see you. We've got volunteers. And Pat's with me from Ottawa, and the Durham house is here. Bill is from the Toronto house, okay? In fact, they are the experts. And so after we're done here, please nab them, chat with them, join us at the display down there at the back of the room, a bit like that. Many very, very deeply felt thanks to Dr. Goldman. His thoughts last night and this morning inspired me to change my presentation. So I'm winging it today. Yeah, that means off the cuff. And I believe some thoughts that might be better shared with everybody here because of the foundations of empathy, I think, in everything that everybody here in this room does. We're all driven by that. The other thanks that I'd like to share or express are for Tanya and Kraut. This is an amazing event, really well run. Yeah, you guys have done a great job. Very much the same thanks to Gary, who quickly popped this stuff into the machine for me because I was just whipped it up at lunchtime. Yep, thanks Gary to everybody. And the food folks who are sort of disappeared and whisked away all our apples. And apples are part of the region, and I'm happy to know that on our way home I'm going to pick up a big basket of apples and take them to Ottawa. All right, the Abbeyfield motto. I'm going to describe that, but the foundation of my presentation is that empathy in spades. The Abbeyfield house started, the idea started in 1956 in the United Kingdom. As a fellow, I was a major in the army. He was just in his 30s and post-war environment, and noticed in his sort of impoverished community in London that there were a lot of lonely old people. And it would just, well, geez, why don't we just sort of move in together on a street called Abbeyfield? And lo and behold, the Abbeyfield model was born. 4 or 5 seniors no longer lived in loneliness, and he was driven by empathy. And it changed their lives. It's now changing the lives of 10 to 12 or 15 people in every one of the over 800 houses around the world. There are 20 houses in Ontario. There's the Durham, or 20 houses in Canada, but there's the Durham house, there's the Toronto house, there's Caledon, and there's one in Ottawa, which was actually my foot in the door. I have a background in construction and farming, actually. Big full circle, I'm from Elora, just south of here. So I spent a lot of time driving up here with a case of beer and doing things I wasn't supposed to do when I was a little bit younger. Not allowed to do that anymore, darn. Yeah, so the Abbeyfield houses are pretty unique. They are not affordable housing. Okay, they're not long-term care. They're not co-housing. I'm sure everybody in this room's heard about co-housing and the Golden Girls Act, which was driven by a bunch of hot babes who have got their feathers ruffled and said things need to change in Ontario. And in fact, we do have the right to live together in common under a shared roof. Nobody says that we have to be a nuclear family. We can get together in different ways to live forward into the future. And I think that's one of the most exciting things about the Abbeyfield model, and everybody in this room, is we are dreaming forward into a world with an aging demographic that none of us, at no time in history, have ever had to face before. We are winging it, just like my presentation, okay? That's exciting, because it's opportunity for everybody to be creative and to find new ways to address how we live in this world. It's also an opportunity for young people to engage. I was very much enjoying my wine and beer yesterday. I had a little chat with the bartenders at the back. And to be honest with you, it's not a perfect world. They said, where are the young people? You know what, they were perfectly right. At the next conference, let's make an effort to get young people in the room, because they are going to build our future together. Okay, that's really important to us. It's important to the work that Pat and I are trying to do in Ottawa, and it's important to the young people to know that we want them to be part of who we are and where we're going in this world. I better change my slide or I'm going to forget where I'm going. One of the things I want to say about our presentation is working with local government is absolutely critical for every new Abbeyfield. So thanks, Tanya and Anne-Marie, is that to see the openness from the municipalities and local government in the province and the federal government, but particularly local government. Without your support, moving forward and adapting to change is not going to happen. And Dave, when you talked about repurposing the church, turning an old building into a fresh and new alive space, that is what's happening with Abbeyfields. Abbeyfield Durham has an Airbnb in it. Hey, let's be creative. Let's use our spaces in different ways. On your tables, you're all going to find, or most of the tables are right on the cards. There's a little blue card. Somebody might have run away with it. That's the Bronson Centre in Ottawa. Dave, I'd like to speak to this a little bit quickly. Bronson Centre is a repurposed high school. They're one of my clients, okay? Abbeyfield Canada moved into that old high school, all right? There are now 40 different not-for-profits in those classrooms. And there's a revenue center called the auditorium. I just finished $1.1 million of renovations in that auditorium. The revenues from that auditorium are subsidizing the rents for the not-for-profits, which includes housing. We have Elizabeth Fry in our building. And so the women who are out of jail get the opportunity to come back to society through a not-for-profit that has the opportunity to operate affordably, okay? We are now dreaming forward at that facility, possibly put up 20 floors of affordable housing, 2-3 floors of Abbeyfields, daycare on the bottom, penthouses, private penthouses on the top to help pay for it. Now that's all urban stuff, right? But it's no different in rural areas, and I just want to remind you that I grew up farming in Elora, and I'm very sympathetic to rural communities. I'm very happy to be here. What is an Abbeyfield? I've described it fairly well already. This photograph that you see here doesn't matter, is Fort St. John, BC. Of the 20 Abbeyfields in Canada, I'll briefly describe a few of them. Abbeyfield, Ottawa, right downtown, it's the most expensive, $2,100 a month all in. That's what you pay to live there. And eat, and have access to laundry, and have a parking spot if you've got a car, and go out into community and do whatever the heck you want. Independence. The Abbeyfield model is you are independent, and that is defined by each Abbeyfield. It's a principle of the Abbeyfields because we are not long-term care. We are not a health facility. We can't afford it. They are not-for-profit houses, every one of them run by a volunteer board, okay? That's quite unique, but it makes it living affordably. Note, I say living affordably, it's not affordable housing. For the most part, because the Toronto house is a bit different. For example, the tenants in the Toronto house are on the wait list from Toronto Housing Authority. Okay, so the Toronto house has a slightly different business model, but if we take the business model in Saskatoon, everybody pays their rent. I think it's about $1,800 a month there, all in. Includes a cook, you get your room, you get your bathroom, and you share a kitchen, and you share a dining table. At no time are you ever lonely. You don't come to the breakfast table, hello. Somebody comes knocking on your door. Where are you? What's up? I'm not feeling too good. Well, okay, at least you're there. That kind of thing. Every day, 365 days a year. You cannot be alone in an Abbeyfield. You can go into your room and lock it, but at breakfast time, lunchtime, dinner time, you're with your family. You choose to be there. There's a policy for how to figure out how people are going to live there. Every house has their policy, and the tenants get to choose as well. This is the Bronson Center, action in high gear. I helped them purchase the building in 2017. Abbeyfield, Canada lives in one of the offices there. We have housing up here, okay? We're imagining a building at the back with Abbeyfields in it. In Kitchener, there's a private sector developer, and he is now at the point where he believes he's 2 years out. Main floor, high-end townhouses, seniors. Next floor, Abbeyfield. Third floor, Abbeyfield. Fourth, fifth, sixth floors, private sector, market-driven seniors apartments. Okay, there are many ways to approach this, to cut this cookie, to skin this cat. All right. Moving forward, we can imagine an Abbeyfield in any community. Disruption, do it differently. Don't be afraid of bylaws, zoning, be flexible, be creative, all that kind of stuff. I'm using the word disruption, it came from Dr. Goldman, that's why that's here. We can do it together. Partnership is everything. We are imagining working with affordable housing partners. The affordable housing industry in Ontario can get the money to build big buildings. Well, we can maybe lease out a floor for an Abbeyfield. You possibly could arrange in that 70-unit new build, hey, chop out a couple of floors or one floor and create an Abbeyfield. All you have to do is get together a local not-for-profit organization to lease it with a sustainable business model, okay? We're thinking outside the box here, because we all have to. We don't know what we're doing. We've never had this aging demographic before. Engage, contribute, invest your energy. Right here in downtown Owen Sound, you've got the asset. You've got the people. You've got the price. Just think outside the box and you will have one of the most beautiful, most creative models of new living affordably, community-driven, community spaces in Canada. And I know that the energy's there to do it because we, Abbeyfield Canada, have already been invited down to Prince Edward Island, Summerside, 15-acre property. They were going to tear down the college, 80,000 square feet. They asked me to come down and talk about Abbeyfield. They sent me their building plans, the site plans. I called them and I said, it looks like you got a building in the middle of that property. Oh yeah, we're going to tear it down. I said, wait a minute. And I sent them an email. And I linked them to the Bronson Center site. They called me back in a couple hours and said, we're changing our plans. We're going to do it differently. We're going to do affordable housing driven by community within existing infrastructure, save money, geothermal heating, and we're going to use our private sector development around it to be the change that needs to happen in Canada. It's hard work. We will change the world. Thank you.